The warning lights painted Captain Ven's forearms in crimson as another explosion rocked the gentle inquiry. His ship, a delicate research vessel designed for peaceful exploration, was dying. The reactor had failed 3 hours ago, and now the elegant curves of Valyrian engineering were tearing themselves apart. "Life support at 30%, called out Officer Zilth from her station, her voice trembling. She was young, barely 2 cycles out of the academy, and her slender fingers shook as they moved across the control panel. "Captain, we need help. We need it now." Ben knew she was right. His crew of 12 scientists and explorers were going to die out here in the dark, near this uncharted nebula, if someone didn't come for them. But who? They were 3 weeks from the nearest outpost. No friendly vessel could reach them in time. "Send the distress call," Ven said quietly, his third arm gripping the command chair so hard that his knuckles turned pale. "All frequencies. Someone will hear us." Zilth's hands flew across her console. The young officer was panicking now, her training forgotten in her fear. She activated every communication channel the ship had, including the old ones, the emergency frequencies that hadn't been used in generations. The signal burst out from the gentle inquiry in all directions, a desperate scream into the void. For a moment, there was silence except for the groaning of stressed metal and the hiss of escaping atmosphere somewhere in the lower decks. Then Dr. Kessa, the ship's xenobiologist, looked up from her station with wide eyes. All 4 of her eyes, in fact, were dilated with pure terror. "Captain," she whispered. "The signal. It reached Sector 2847. The bridge fell silent. Every Valyrian on board knew what that meant." "Please tell me you're joking," Ven said, though he could see from her face that she wasn't. "The old emergency channels," Kessa continued, her voice barely audible. "They were designed to reach every inhabited system, including the quarantine zones, including Sol 3. Officer Zilth made a sound like a wounded animal. "Earth, I sent a signal to the Death World?" "To the humans." Ven felt his blood turn to ice in his veins. Every child in the galactic community learned about Earth in their safety lessons. It was a horror story, a cautionary tale about the dangers lurking in unexplored space. Earth was a planet that should have been impossible for sentient life. Crushing gravity, lethal radiation from its sun, oxygen levels that would burn Valyrian lungs, weather that could kill with cold or heat, predators at every level of the food chain, and the humans. Oh, the humans. They were the only species known to have evolved as persistence predators on a high-gravity death world. They had forward-facing eyes designed for hunting, dense bones and powerful muscles built to chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. They could survive injuries that would kill any civilized species. Their own planet had tried for millions of years to kill them, and they had simply refused to die. The Galactic Council had quarantined Earth 200 years ago when they first detected the radio signals. The decision had been unanimous. Humanity was too dangerous to contact. Better to leave them isolated on their nightmare world and hope they never developed faster-than-light travel. "Can we cancel the signal?" Ven asked desperately. Kessa shook her head. "It's already been transmitted. If there's a listening post in Sol system, they've already received it." Another shudder ran through the ship. The lights flickered and died, replaced by the dim emergency lighting. In the red glow, Ven's crew looked like ghosts. "How long do we have?" Ven asked quietly. "Life support will fail completely in 48 hours, Zilth reported, her voice steadier now, though Ven could see she was fighting back tears. "Maybe less." Ven closed his eyes. 48 hours. They could die slowly, suffocating as the air ran out, or they could wait and see what answered their call. If the humans came, what would they do? Would it be quick at least? Valyrians were not warriors. They had no weapons on board, no way to defend themselves. They were scientists, explorers, pacifists by culture and biology. "I'm sorry," Zilth said suddenly, addressing the whole bridge. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. I just panicked. I wasn't thinking." "It's not your fault," Dr. Kessa said gently, reaching over to touch the younger officer's shoulder with one delicate hand. "You did what you were trained to do. You called for help." "I called predators to come hunt us," Zilth said bitterly. "We don't know that," Kessa replied, though her voice lacked conviction. "The humans have been quiet for 2 centuries. Maybe they're not as bad as the stories say. Maybe they won't even respond." Ben wasn't sure which possibility frightened him more, dying alone in the dark, or meeting the creatures from the nightmare world. He thought about the stories he'd heard. Humans could eat almost anything, even food that was toxic to most species. They healed from wounds that would be fatal to Valerians. They had something called an adrenaline response that made them stronger and faster when threatened. They formed pack bonds so strong that they would die for each other. And worst of all, they seemed to find danger exciting. They sought it out deliberately, calling it fun. What kind of insane species thought danger was enjoyable? "All crew," Ven announced over the ship-wide communication system, his voice steady despite his fear. "This is the captain. You're aware that we've sent a distress signal. You may not be aware that this signal has reached the quarantine system Sol 3, known as Earth. If the humans respond to our call, I want everyone to remain calm. We will cooperate with any instructions they give us. We will not resist. Our only chance of survival is to appear non-threatening." He paused, choosing his next words carefully. "I know the stories. We all know the stories. But remember, they are just stories. We have never made contact with humanity. We don't truly know what they're like. If they come, we will meet them with dignity and hope for the best." It was a lie, of course. Ven had read the classified files, the sensor reports from the Council's distant observation posts. Humans fought wars among themselves regularly. They had weapons that could crack planets. They had sent machines to every rock in their solar system, even landing on some of them just to see what was there. They were relentless and curious and absolutely terrifying, but his crew didn't need to know all of that. They needed hope, even false hope. Dr. Kessa moved to stand beside his command chair. "Captain," she said quietly, "I've studied the human files. All of them. I made it my hobby, learning about the forbidden species. May I share an observation?" "Please," Ven said. "Humans have something they call rescue dogs," and Kessa said. "Animals they bred specifically to find lost people and save them. They have entire organizations dedicated to saving strangers. They send their own people into danger to help others, even when there's no benefit to themselves. Yes, they're predators. Yes, they're dangerous. But they're also the only species we know of that deliberately saves individuals from other packs. Other tribes, even other species." Ven wanted to believe her. He desperately wanted to believe that if the humans came, it would be to help. But as he sat in the dying ship, surrounded by his terrified crew, all he could think about was how humans had evolved. Persistence predators. They chased their prey for days until it was too exhausted to run anymore, and the gentle inquiry couldn't run at all. Admiral Sarah Chen was drinking her third coffee of the night when the alert came through. She'd been reviewing budget reports in her office aboard the orbital command station, the kind of tedious paperwork that came with being the head of United Earth Naval Forces. Then every screen in her office turned red, and a sound she'd never heard before began blaring through the speakers. "Admiral to Command Center." "Immediate!" Her assistant's voice cut through the alarm. "We have a situation." Chen was moving before he finished speaking, her coffee forgotten on the desk. She'd been in the military for 32 years, and she knew that tone. Something big had just happened. The command center was chaos when she arrived. Officers were shouting, screens were flashing, and someone had activated the emergency protocols. Commander Liu met her at the entrance, his face pale with excitement or fear or both. "Ma'am, we've received a signal," Liu said quickly, pulling up a holographic display, an SOS, broadcasting on multiple frequencies, including some old emergency channels we've never seen used before. "It's not human origin." Chen felt her heart stop and then start again, faster. "You're telling me—" "Yes, ma'am. First confirmed alien contact. The signal is weak, but our long-range arrays picked it up. The source is approximately 73 light-years away in the direction of the Cygnus constellation. The linguistics AI has been working on translation. The message is simple. They're dying and need immediate rescue." Chen stared at the waveform on the display, watching it pulse and shift. This was it, the moment humanity had been waiting for, wondering about, dreaming about for centuries. They weren't alone, and the first message from the stars was a cry for help. "Show me everything," Chen ordered. For the next 20 minutes, she absorbed every piece of data they had. The signal was definitely artificial and definitely not from any human source. The translation was rough but clear enough. "Ship in distress, reactor failure, life support critical, crew of 12, please help." The signal had been sent on dozens of different frequencies, like someone desperately trying every channel they could find. Someone who was dying and terrified and alone. "What's our fastest ship?" Chen asked. "The Indomitable," Liu replied immediately. "Battlecruiser, newest generation. equipped with the experimental quantum drive. She can make the trip in about 16 hours if we push the engines hard. A battle cruiser? Chen frowned. For a rescue mission? Ma'am, she's also our longest-range vessel. Nothing else we have can get there in time, and with respect, we have no idea what we're flying into. This could be legitimate, or it could be a trap. The Indomitable has the speed to get there fast and the firepower to handle any threats. Chen nodded slowly. He was right. First contact with an unknown alien species, and it had to be done at the scene of an emergency. They needed to be prepared for anything. Wake up, Captain Rodriguez. Tell him his ship is being activated for an emergency mission, and get me the best first contact team we have. Scientists, linguists, medics, engineers. If there are survivors, I want us ready to save them. Already on it, ma'am. One more thing. Liu hesitated. We're going to need to tell people. We can't launch the Indomitable without the whole planet noticing. Chen looked out the massive viewport at Earth below, peaceful and blue in the darkness. In a few minutes, everything was going to change. Humanity was about to learn they weren't alone, and Earth's first action would be to rush into danger to save strangers. Draft an announcement, she said. Keep it simple. We received a distress call from an unknown source. We're responding. That's all people need to know for now. 2 hours later, the Indomitable was ready to launch. Captain Marcus Rodriguez stood on his bridge, reviewing the mission parameters with his senior staff. He was a veteran of 23 years, calm and competent, but even he felt the weight of what they were about to do. Listen up, he said to his crew. In about 15 minutes, we're going to be the first humans to make contact with an alien species. I don't need to tell you how important this is. Everything we do, everything we say will represent all of humanity. So here's how this is going to work. We go in cautious but friendly. We offer assistance. We follow first contact protocols. And we remember that whoever sent that signal is scared and hurt and waiting for help that might not come. Dr. Amara Okafor, the ship's chief science officer, spoke up from her station. Captain, I've been reviewing the linguistics AI analysis of the signal. The language structure suggests a very different cognitive framework from ours. We need to be prepared for significant communication barriers. We'll work through it, Rodriguez said confidently. Humans are good at making ourselves understood when we need to. Sergeant Thomas Kowalski, callsign Bull, leaned against the wall near the Marine Ready Room. He was a big man, broad-shouldered and strong, with scars from a dozen combat zones. Sir, what if it's hostile? What if this is bait? Then we deal with it, Rodriguez replied. But I don't think it is, Sergeant. That signal was raw panic. Nobody fakes that kind of fear. And if they're willing to broadcast their position while they're helpless, they're either genuinely desperate or incredibly stupid. Or both, Kowalski muttered. But he nodded. The Indomitable launched at 300 hours, her massive engines burning bright enough to light up the night sky across half the planet. Below on Earth, people poured into the streets and stared up at the stars. The news had spread like wildfire. Aliens were real. They needed help, and humanity was going. Social media exploded with messages. Some people were afraid, some were excited, but most were simply proud. Of course, humanity would respond to a distress call. What else would they do? On the bridge of the Indomitable, Dr. Okafor watched the quantum drive indicators as they prepared to jump to faster-than-light speeds. She'd spent her whole career studying the possibility of alien life, writing papers, making theories. Now she was going to meet them. Dr. Okafor, Rodriguez said quietly, moving to stand beside her. What do you think they'll be like? She considered the question carefully. Different, she said finally. Maybe very different. Different biology, different culture, different way of thinking. But they're people, Captain. They have a ship and a crew, and they're trying to survive. That makes them people, even if they don't look anything like us. Think they'll be scared of us? He asked. Okafor smiled slightly. Probably. We evolved as predators on a high-gravity world. We're probably going to seem very strange and maybe very frightening to species that evolve differently. We need to be gentle, patient. Show them we're here to help, not to hurt. Gentle and patient, Rodriguez repeated. Got it. He raised his voice to address the bridge crew. All hands prepare for quantum jump. Next stop, first contact. Let's go save some lives. The Indomitable shimmered and vanished, crossing the impossible distance between stars in the blink of an eye. Behind them, Earth waited and hoped. Ahead of them, in the darkness near an uncharted nebula, 12 terrified aliens counted down the hours until their air ran out and wondered what kind of monsters they'd called down upon themselves. Neither species knew it yet, but everything was about to change. The galaxy was about to learn what humans meant by the word rescue, and a frightened research crew was about to discover that the most dangerous predators in known space were also the ones most likely to die saving strangers. The Indomitable flew on through the dark, carrying humanity's first message to the stars. "We heard you were coming, hold on." Officer Zilth stared at her sensor display and felt all four of her hearts trying to beat their way out of her chest. "Captain," she whispered, "something's coming. Something big." Captain Venn moved to her station quickly, his forearms steady despite the fear coursing through him. The gentle inquiry had been dying slowly for 37 hours now. The air was thin and stale. The temperature had dropped to barely survivable levels, and his crew was exhausted from trying to keep critical systems running. They'd almost hoped that no one would answer their call. Death by slow suffocation seemed preferable to what might be coming. "Distance?" Venn asked. 2 million kilometers and closing fast, Zilth reported, her voice shaking. "Captain, the signature is enormous." "Whatever it is, it's at least 20 times our mass. And the energy readings?" She stopped, checking her display again as if hoping she'd made a mistake. "It's radiating power like a small sun. Weapons hot. Shields at full strength. This isn't a rescue ship. This is a warship." Dr. Kessa abandoned her own failing console and joined them. She'd been awake for most of the past 37 hours, monitoring the crew's deteriorating health and running calculations on how long they had left. Her eyes were dim with exhaustion, but they brightened with terrified fascination as she saw the sensor data. "It's human," she breathed. "It has to be. No civilized species builds ships like that." The bridge crew fell silent. Through the viewport they could see nothing yet but stars and the slowly swirling gases of the nebula, but the sensors didn't lie. Something massive and powerful was approaching at impossible speeds, and it was heading straight for them. "All crew, this is the captain," Venn said over the ship-wide channel, forcing his voice to remain calm. "The vessel responding to our distress call will be here within the hour. Remember what we discussed. We cooperate fully. We make no threatening moves. We show submission and hope they show mercy." He cut the channel and looked at his crew. 3 of them were crying quietly. The others simply looked resigned. "Maybe it won't be so bad," Zilth offered weakly. "Maybe they're just cautious. Maybe that's why they sent a military ship." Nobody responded. They all knew better. The hour passed like a slow countdown to execution. The human ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel just outside the nebula, and for the first time, the gentle inquiry's cameras could capture visual data. What they saw made Venn's blood run cold. The ship was a monster. Where the gentle inquiry was all curves and delicate structures, the human vessel was angular and brutal. It looked like it had been designed for ramming things. Heavy armor plating covered every surface. Weapon ports lined its hull, dozens of them, maybe hundreds. The engines glowed with barely restrained power. This wasn't a ship. This was a flying fortress designed to destroy anything in its path. "They're hailing us," Zilth said quietly. "Audio only. Put it through," Venn ordered. The sound that came through the speakers made several crew members recoil. It was harsh, guttural, full of sharp sounds that hurt Valyrian ears. The universal translator struggled with it for a moment before words began to appear on the displays. "Unidentified vessel. This is UENF Indomitable responding to your distress call. We are here to render assistance. Please respond, assistance." The word seemed almost absurd coming from something so clearly built for war. Venn activated his own communication system, speaking slowly and clearly. "This is Captain Venn of the Valyrian research vessel Gentle Inquiry. Our reactor has failed and life support is critical. We have 12 crew, all in need of immediate evacuation." There was a pause. Then the harsh sounds came again and the translator worked. "Understood, Gentle Inquiry. We're reading your hull integrity at 42% and atmosphere at dangerous levels. We're moving into docking position and will begin rescue operations immediately. Stand by." The Indomitable moved closer with frightening precision for something so large. Through the viewport, Venn could see smaller craft detaching from the warship. Boarding shuttles, he realized. They were coming over. The humans were actually coming aboard. "Dr. Kessa," Venn said quietly, "you've studied them. Tell me honestly, what should we expect?" Kessa watched the approaching shuttles with wide eyes. They're persistence predators, Captain. They evolved to chase prey across long distances. High endurance, high pain tolerance, excellent at tracking and problem solving. But they're also social pack hunters. They work in groups. They communicate constantly. They protect their pack members aggressively. Are we prey or pack? Ven asked. I don't know, Kessa admitted. We're about to find out. The first shuttle attached to their docking port with a heavy clang that echoed through the dying ship. Ven ordered his crew to assemble in the main corridor near the airlock. They gathered in a tight group, drawing comfort from proximity even as they trembled with fear. The airlock cycled open with a hiss of equalizing pressure, and the humans came through. The first thing Ven noticed was their size. They were massive, each one nearly twice the height of a Valyrian and far broader. They wore sealed environmental suits that only made them look more threatening. Hard surfaces and sharp angles painted in efficient grays and blacks. Through their helmet visors, Ven could see their faces. Forward-facing eyes, just as the report said. Eyes designed for tracking prey. Strong jaws. They moved with frightening confidence, each step precise and purposeful. The lead human raised one hand. Was that a greeting or a threat? And spoke. The translator rendered it as Captain Ven. I'm Sergeant Kowalski, United Earth Marines. We're here to help you. Help, that word again. Ven forced himself to step forward, keeping his forearms visible and non-threatening. Sergeant, we appreciate your response. Our ship is failing quickly. The human called Kowalski tilted his head, a gesture Ven couldn't interpret. We can see that, sir. My team is going to assess your critical systems and start emergency repairs. We also have medical personnel standing by. How's your crew holding up? We are frightened and exhausted, but still functional, Ven said honestly. What point was there in lying? Another human stepped forward, smaller than the others, with different markings on the suit. Captain Ven, I'm Dr. Amara Okafor, xenobiologist. Can you tell me about your species' basic needs? Atmosphere composition, temperature tolerance, medical concerns? We want to make sure we're not doing anything that could harm you. The question caught Ven off guard. They were worried about harming the Valyrians? We breathe nitrogen-oxygen mix, lower oxygen percentage than your atmosphere. We require cooler temperatures, approximately 15 degrees Celsius. We are fragile compared to... He hesitated. Compared to your species. Understood, Dr. Okafor said, and Ven thought he detected warmth in the harsh sounds of human speech. We'll be careful. Sergeant, make sure everyone knows we're working with a delicate species. No sudden moves, watch your strength, keep voices low. The humans spread out through the ship with startling efficiency. More came through the airlock carrying equipment and tools. They moved carefully now, Ven noticed. The sergeant had to duck through doorways designed for smaller species. They spoke to each other constantly in quick, clipped sentences, coordinating their efforts. Officer Zilth approached Ven cautiously, watching a group of humans work on the reactor access panel. Captain, they're actually fixing our ship. They're not here to hunt us. Not yet, Ven said quietly, but even he was starting to wonder. The humans worked with focused intensity, their movements purposeful and efficient. They were solving problems, repairing damage, stabilizing systems. This wasn't the behavior of predators stalking prey. This was the behavior of... They're like rescue workers, Dr. Kessa said suddenly, appearing at Ven's side. She was watching the humans with the same fascination she might show examining a new species of plant. Look at them. They're organized, methodical, focused entirely on the task. This is trained behavior. They practice this. One of the humans approached them, a different one this time with red markings on the suit. The translator identified the speech as I'm Lieutenant Chen, Chief Engineer. We've got good news and bad news. Good news is we can stabilize your reactor enough to get you to the nearest safe port. Bad news is we can't do it while you're still on board. The radiation levels during the procedure would be lethal to your species. Ven felt panic rising again. They wanted to evacuate the Valyrians onto the human ship, into the heart of the monster. Lieutenant Chen seemed to sense the fear. You'll be safe on the Indomitable, sir. We've prepared quarters for you with adjusted atmosphere and temperature. We'll return you to your ship as soon as the repairs are complete. You have my word, the word of a predator. What was that worth? But as Ven looked around at his dying ship and his exhausted crew, he realized he had no choice. They could trust the humans or they could die. Those were the only options. Very well, Ven said quietly. We will evacuate to your ship. Sergeant Kowalski stepped forward again, and this time Ven recognized the gesture he made. He was extending his hand. A greeting, an offer of contact. Ven reached out with one trembling hand and touched the human's armored glove. Through the layers of material, he could feel the warmth of the creature inside. Alive, real, terrifying. "Welcome aboard the Indomitable, Captain," Sergeant Kowalski said. "We're going to take good care of you." The quarters aboard the Indomitable were surprisingly comfortable. Captain Ven sat on a chair designed for human proportions, his forearms folded across his chest as he watched Dr. Okafor make adjustments to the environmental controls. The temperature had been lowered, the oxygen content adjusted, and soft lighting installed to accommodate Valyrian eyes that were sensitive to the harsh brightness humans seemed to prefer. "Is this better?" Dr. Okafor asked, checking a handheld device. "We want you to be comfortable during your stay." "It's adequate," Ven said carefully. Then, because the human seemed genuinely concerned, he added, "Thank you. You've been very accommodating." Dr. Okafor smiled. Baring teeth, Ven noted with a slight chill, though the gesture seemed friendly rather than threatening. "We're just glad we got to you in time. Your ship was in worse shape than we thought. Lieutenant Chen says the reactor was about 3 hours from a complete meltdown when we arrived." 3 hours. They'd been 3 hours from death. And instead they were here in climate-controlled quarters on a human warship, drinking water that had been carefully filtered to remove the excess minerals that would sicken Valyrian digestion. Across the room, Officer Zilth sat talking with a young human marine whose name badge read Cooper. The two were comparing images on a display screen. Cooper was showing Zilth pictures of Earth, and Zilth was showing Cooper images of the Valyrian homeworld. "Your planet is so green," Zilth said, her voice filled with wonder. "And so much water. We have water, but not like this. Earth's about 70% ocean," Cooper explained. "We evolved near water, learned to swim before we learned to build." "What's your homeworld like?" "Drier, cooler, gentler," Zilth said. "Nothing like your world. How do you survive there? The gravity alone would crush us." Cooper shrugged. A gesture that Ven was learning meant the human found something obvious or unimportant. "You get used to it. Makes us strong, I guess. Helps when we're lifting heavy equipment." He gestured around the ship. "All this stuff weighs a lot less to us than it would to you." Ven listened to the exchange with growing confusion. The young human was friendly, almost casual. There was no sense of superiority, no predatory interest, just genuine curiosity about another species and a willingness to share information. It was baffling. Dr. Kessa entered the quarters carrying a data pad, her eyes bright with the excitement Ven recognized as her research passion igniting. "Captain, I've been given access to some of the human databases. With permission, of course. You need to see this." She pulled up information on the display screen, replacing the planetary images with text and diagrams. "Humans call themselves persistence hunters. They evolved to chase prey across long distances until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. But look at what else they evolved." She highlighted a section. "Complex social structures, pack bonding behaviors, adoption instincts. They don't just protect their own offspring. They protect anything they perceive as part of their pack." "We're not part of their pack," Ben said quietly. "Aren't we?" Kessa countered. "We called for help. They responded. From their perspective, we became their responsibility the moment they heard our distress call. It's a protection instinct, Captain. They can't help themselves." A sudden alarm blared through the ship, making every Valyrian jump. Human voices called out in sharp, urgent tones over the communication system. Ven felt his heart race. This was it. Whatever the humans had been planning, it was happening now. Sergeant Kowalski's voice came over the intercom in their quarters. "All Valyrian guests, stay calm. We have a situation developing on your ship. There's been a structural collapse in the engineering section. Some of our people are trapped. We're handling it. Trapped. Humans were trapped on the Gentle Inquiry, and it was the Valyrians' fault. Their failing ship had become a death trap for their rescuers. We should help," Zilth said immediately, standing up. "No," Dr. Okafor said firmly, appearing at the door to their quarters. "You can't survive in there right now. The radiation levels from the reactor are too high for your species. You'd die within minutes. Our people have protective equipment and higher tolerance. Let us handle this." "But they're in danger because of us," Ven protested. Dr. Okafor's expression softened. "They're in danger because they chose to help." "That's what we do, Captain. It's what humans have always done. We see someone in trouble, we help, even when it's risky. Especially when it's risky. She left to join the rescue effort, leaving the Valyrians alone with their guilt and confusion. For 2 hours, they listened to reports over the intercom. The collapse had trapped 4 human engineers in a section of the ship that was rapidly flooding with coolant and radiation. The rescue team was working to cut through debris, but the structure kept shifting. It was dangerous. It might fail completely. Ven paced the quarters with all 4 arms wrapped around himself, feeling helpless. His crew sat in small groups, quiet and worried. These humans had come to save them, and now humans might die because of it. Finally, Dr. Kessa accessed the Indomitable's internal security feeds and pulled up a camera view of the rescue operation. What Ven saw made him freeze in shock. The humans had formed a human chain, literally using their bodies as structural supports while they extracted their trapped teammates. Sergeant Kowalski stood in the center of a corridor filled with radiation that would have killed any Valyrian instantly, his suit's radiation sensors screaming warnings. But he didn't move. He was holding up a partially collapsed ceiling panel with his own strength while others crawled underneath. "He's going to die," Zilth whispered, but he didn't. The humans pulled their trapped teammates free one by one, and then they all retreated together. Nobody was left behind. Nobody gave up. When they finally emerged from the gentle inquiry and sealed the airlocks, Ven could see that several of them were injured. Sergeant Kowalski's suit was damaged, one arm hanging uselessly, but he was checking on his team first, making sure everyone else was safe before allowing the medics to treat him. Dr. Okafor returned to their quarters an hour later, looking exhausted but satisfied. "Everyone's safe," she reported. "2 broken bones, some radiation exposure, nothing we can't treat. Your ship is stabilized now. We're going to tow it to the nearest galactic station for proper repairs." "Your people were injured saving our ship," Ven said quietly. "Why, we're nothing to you. You don't even know us." Dr. Okafor looked at him with those predator's eyes, those forward-facing hunter's eyes, and Ven saw something there he hadn't expected to see. Compassion, understanding, warmth. "Your people," she said simply. "That's enough. You needed help and we could provide it. Why wouldn't we?" Later that night, or what passed for night on the Indomitable's continuous operation schedule, Ven found Sergeant Kowalski in the medical bay. The big human was sitting on a bed clearly too small for him, his injured arm in some kind of healing brace while a medic ran scans. "Sergeant," Ven said hesitantly, "may I speak with you?" "Of course, Captain. Call me Bull. Everyone does." The sergeant waved him over with his good arm. Ven approached carefully. "I wanted to thank you, and to ask you a question if I may." "Shoot," Bull said. Then seeing Ven's confusion added, "That means go ahead. Why did you risk yourself in that radiation? Your scans must have been telling you it was dangerous. You could have died." Bull looked at him for a long moment, then shrugged. "My people were in there. Couldn't leave them behind. That's not what we do. But you could have sent machines, or waited for better equipment. No time for that. They needed help right then, so we went in right then." Bull leaned forward slightly. "Look, Captain, I know you're scared of us. I know the galaxy sees Earth as some kind of horror show. And yeah, we're tough. We evolved to survive on a planet that tried really hard to kill us. But that's exactly why we help. Because we know what it's like to be in danger. We know what it's like to need someone to come for you. So when someone calls, we answer. Every time." Ven felt something shift inside him. Understanding, maybe. Or the beginning of it. "You mentioned your people," Ven said slowly. "The ones who were trapped. You called them your people. Yeah, my team. My responsibility. But we're not your people. We're not your team. We're aliens. Complete strangers. Yet you treated us the same way." Bull smiled, and this time Ven didn't see a predator's teeth. He saw genuine friendliness. "Captain, the moment you sent that distress call and we decided to answer it, you became our people. That's how it works for humans. We claim you and then we protect you. Can't help it. It's in our nature." Dr. Kessa had been right, Ven realized. Humans were predators, yes. They were dangerous, absolutely. They evolved on a nightmare world that made them stronger and tougher than most species could comprehend. But they'd also evolved something else. A drive to protect, a need to help, an inability to hear someone in distress and not respond. "I think I'm beginning to understand," Ven said quietly. "Good," Bull said, "because you're going to need to explain us to your government when we drop you off. From what Dr. Okafor tells me, the Galactic Council is pretty nervous about Earth. You're going to be the first aliens to actually meet us and live to talk about it. What you say matters. Ven thought about that. He thought about the humans working tirelessly to repair a stranger's ship. The Galactic Council chamber was in chaos. Representatives from 47 different species filled the massive circular room, all of them talking at once. Their various forms of communication, creating a cacophony that the universal translators struggled to parse. At the center of it all, on the primary display screen, was an image of the UNF Indomitable, dark, angular, bristling with weapons, escorting the tiny, delicate form of the Gentle Inquiry toward Council Station 12, Councillor Thex, a tall, crystalline being who served as the Council's chair, raised 3 of its appendages to call for order. The chamber slowly quieted, though the agitation remained palpable. "The situation is unprecedented," Thex announced, its voice resonating through the translation matrix. "The quarantine on Sol 3 has been breached, not by the humans escaping, but by one of our own calling to them. Captain Ven of the Valyrian research vessel Gentle Inquiry has made first contact with humanity. He will address us now via quantum link." The display shifted to show Captain Ven standing on the bridge of the Indomitable. He looked small and fragile compared to the humans visible in the background, but his forearms were steady and his voice was clear. "Honored council members," Ven began, "I stand before you not as a violator of quarantine protocols, but as someone who has learned a truth that the galaxy needs to hear. We were wrong about humanity." The chamber erupted again. Councillor Thex called for order. "I know what the reports say," Ven continued. "I know the assessments. Apex predators from a death world. Dangerous, violent, too aggressive to integrate into civilized society." I believed all of it. When my communications officer accidentally sent our distress signal to Earth, I thought we were calling our own executioners. He paused, looking directly into the camera. "Instead, we called our saviors." The humans responded within hours. They sent their fastest ship. Yes, a warship, because it was the only vessel that could reach us in time. They risked their lives in a radiation-flooded compartment to save their own people who were rescuing us. They adjusted their ship's environment to accommodate our needs. They filtered their water for us. They spoke softly around us because they learned we have sensitive hearing. They treated us with more care and compassion than we've received from some council species who have known us for generations. A counselor from the Hexian Collective, a species known for their pacifism, spoke up. "Captain Ven, you describe kindness, but we have observed humanity for 2 centuries. They wage wars among themselves constantly. They have weapons that could devastate planets. How do you reconcile these facts?" Dr. Kessa stepped into view beside Captain Ven. "If I may, Counselor, I've studied human behavior extensively, both before and during our rescue. Humans are complex. Yes, they're capable of violence. They evolved on a planet where nearly everything was trying to kill them, so they learned to fight back. But they also evolved something else: cooperation, pack bonding, protection instincts. They learned to survive by working together, by protecting each other, by refusing to abandon their group even in the face of death." She pulled up data on her display. "Humans have a concept they call rescue workers, individuals who train specifically to save others from danger. They have organizations dedicated to searching for lost people. They have laws requiring that ships stop to help others in distress. Helping isn't optional for them, counselors. It's a fundamental part of their psychology. They can't not help." Another counselor, this one from the militant Krell species, spoke up. "This is all very touching, but it doesn't address the primary concern. Humans are dangerous, capable. If we allow them into the galactic community, what's to stop them from conquering us? They have the capability." Captain Rodriguez's voice came from off-screen. "May I address that, Captain Ven?" "Please," Ven said, stepping aside. Rodriguez moved into view. He was in his dress uniform, looking every bit the professional military officer. "Counselors, I'm Captain Marcus Rodriguez of the United Earth Naval Forces. You're right to be cautious. We are capable. We are dangerous when threatened. But let me ask you something. When Captain Ven's ship sent out that distress call, what did we do? Did we see an opportunity for conquest? Did we see weak prey? Or did we see people who needed help?" He let the question hang for a moment. Earth's first action upon learning we're not alone in the universe was to rush into danger to save strangers. That should tell you everything you need to know about our intentions. We don't want to conquer the galaxy. We want to explore it, learn from it, Help where we can. Yes, we're dangerous. But we're dangerous in defense of others, not in aggression toward them. Admiral Chen appeared beside Rodriguez. Counselors, Earth would like to formally petition for entry into the Galactic Council. We understand your concerns. We're willing to accept restrictions, oversight, probationary periods, whatever you need to feel safe. But we're also offering something in return. We're offering our protection, our rescue capabilities, our willingness to go into danger that other species can't survive. Counselor Thex's crystalline form seemed to pulse with thought. You propose a role as what? Galactic enforcers? No, Chen said firmly. Galactic emergency responders. When someone's ship fails near a black hole, you call us. When there's a natural disaster on a high-gravity world, you call us. When someone needs help in an environment that would kill most species, you call us. We're not asking to police the galaxy. We're asking to help keep it safe. The council chamber fell silent. It was a compelling offer, and everyone knew it. The galaxy had problems that required physical strength, radiation resistance, and the ability to survive in hostile environments. Humans could provide solutions to problems that had been unsolvable. Finally, a small voice spoke up from the gallery where the Gentle Inquiry's crew had been allowed to observe. Officer Zilth stood, her frame trembling slightly with nervousness. Counselors, may I speak? You may, Thex said. I was the one who sent the signal to Earth, Zilth said, her voice barely above a whisper that the translators had to strain to pick up. It was my panic, my mistake that broke the quarantine. I thought I had killed my crew, but instead I saved them, because the humans came, because they couldn't not come. She looked around at the assembled counselors. I've seen their ship. I've eaten their food, slept in quarters they prepared for us, talked with their young soldiers about home and family and dreams. They're terrifying, yes. They're so strong and so tough that it's hard to believe we're the same classification of organism. But they're also people, good people, people who risk themselves for strangers without hesitation. She paused, then added softly, I understand the fear. I felt it too. I still feel it sometimes when I see how easily they lift things that would take 3 of us to move, or when I remember that their planet would kill me in minutes. But I'm more afraid of what happens if we reject them, because one day someone else is going to be dying in the dark, calling for help. And if we've pushed humanity away, no one will answer that call. The council chamber remained silent for a long moment. Then Counselor Thex spoke. We will vote. The proposal is as follows. Earth will be granted provisional membership in the Galactic Council with the designation of emergency response specialists. They will be restricted from certain sensitive areas of space for a probationary period of 10 standard years. They will be monitored by Council observers, but they will also be granted authority to respond to any distress calls from any member species, with full legal protection for their rescue operations. All in favor? One by one, the counselors voted. Some enthusiastically, some reluctantly, but the majority held. Humanity was in. 3 weeks later, the Gentle Inquiry had been fully repaired and was ready to return to service. The Indomitable had been assigned as escort until they reached Valyrian space, a journey that would take another week. Captain Ven stood in the observation deck watching the stars stream by, thinking about everything that had happened. Sergeant Kowalski found him there, his injured arm now fully healed. Heard you're shipping out tomorrow, Bull said. Yes, back to our normal patrol routes. Back to peaceful exploration. Ven turned to face the big human. I wanted to thank you again, Sergeant. For everything. Just doing our job, Captain. Bull smiled. Though I guess it's officially our job now, huh? Galactic emergency responders. My mom's going to love that. She always said I should get into rescue work. You'll be good at it, Ven said. Your species will be good at it. Though I suspect it will change you. How so? You'll be exposed to hundreds of species now. Thousands of cultures. All that diversity, all that cooperation. It might soften some of your rough edges. Ven's expression became thoughtful. Or maybe you'll change us. Make us braver, stronger. Teach us that sometimes danger is worth facing if it means helping others. Bull nodded slowly. Maybe we'll change each other. That's kind of the point of meeting new people, right? Learning from each other. Officer Zilth appeared in the doorway accompanied by the young Marine Cooper. They'd spent most of the last 3 weeks together, exchanging cultural information and becoming what humans called friends. Captain, Zilth said. Cooper's been teaching me about Earth music. Did you know they have over 600 different styles? And they create new ones constantly?